Nevertheless, he did not depart for Chicago that night. 2 days later, Emma Hirsch became Mrs. Kelly, and the gift of the groom, when once they were alone, was a crushing blow on the bride's pale cheek. Next morning, Mitch left Milwaukee as he had entered it, by fast fright. "There's no use of kidding ourselves any more," said Tommy Haley. "He might get down to 37 in a pinch, but if he done below that, a mouse could stop him. He's a welter, that's what he is, and he knows it as well as I do. He's grown like a weed in the last 6 months. I told him, I says, if you don't quit growing, they won't be nobody for you to box, only Willard and them. He says, well, I wouldn't run away from Willard if I weighed 20 pounds more." "He must hate himself," said Tommy's brother. "I never seen a good one that didn't," said Tommy. "And Midge is a good one, don't make no mistake about that. I wish he could get off Welsh before the kid growed so big, but it's too late now. I won't make no holler though if he can match him up with the Dutchman." "Who do you mean?" "Young Getz, the welter champ. He might not get so much dough for the bout itself, but I'd roll it in afterward. What a drawing card would be, 'cause the people pays their money to see the fella with the wallop, and that's Midge. And we'd keep the title just as long as Midge could make the weight." "Can't you land no match with Getz?" "Sure, 'cause he needs the money. But I went careful with the kid so far, and look at the results I got. So what's the use of taking a chance? The kid's coming every minute, and Getz is going back faster than Big Johnson did. I think we could lick him now. I bet my life on it. But 6 months from now, there won't be no risk. He'll lick off himself before that, Tom. Then all we'll have to do is sign up with him and wait for the referee to stop it. But Mitch is so crazy to get at him now that I can hardly hold him back." Two brothers Haley were lunching in the Boston hotel. Dan had come down from Holyoke to visit Tommy and to watch the latter's protege go 12 rounds or less with Bud Cross. The bout promised little in the way of contest, for Midge had twice stopped the Baltimore youth, and Bud's reputation for gameness was all that had earned him the date. The fans were willing to pay the price to see Midge's haymaking left, but they wanted to see it used on an opponent who would not jump out of the ring for the first time he felt its crushing force. Bud Cross was such an opponent, and his willingness to stop boxing gloves with his eyes, ears, nose, and throat had long enabled him to escape the horrors of honest labor. A game boy was Bud, and he showed it in his battered, swollen, discolored face. "I should think," said Dane Haley, "that kid do whatever you tell him after all you done for him." "Well," said Tommy, "he's took my dope pretty straight so far, but he's so sure of himself that he can't see no reason for waiting. He'll do what I say, Joe. He'd be a sucker not to." "You got a contract with him?" "No, I don't need no contract. He knows it was me that drug him out of the gutter, and he ain't going to turn me down now, when he's got the dough and bound to get more. Where'd he been if I hadn't listened to him when he first come to me? That's pretty near 2 years ago, but it seems like last week. I was sitting in the slums across the Pleasant Club in Philly waiting for McCann to count the dough and come over, when this little bum blowed in and tried to stand the house off for a drink. They told him nothing doing and to beat it out of there, and then he see me and come over to where I was setting and asked me wasn't I a boxing man, and I told him who I was. Then he asked me for money to buy a shot, and I told him to sit down and I'd buy it for him. Then we got talking things over and told me his name and told me about fighting a couple of prelims up to Milwaukee. So I says, well, boy, I don't know how good or how rotten you are, but you won't get ever nowheres trying training on that stuff. So he says he'd cut it out if he could get on it and in a bout, and I says I would give him a chance if he played square with me and didn't touch no more to drink. So we shook hands, and I took him up to the hotel with me and gave him a bath, and the next day I bought him some clothes. And I sacked him to eats and sleeps for over 6 weeks. He had a time breaking away from the Polish, but finally I thought he was fit, and I gave him his chance. He went on with the Smiley Sayer and stopped him with so quick that Smiley thought sure he was poisoned. Well, you know what he's did since. The only beating in his record was by Tracy in Milwaukee before I could get hold of him, and he's licked Tracy 3 times in the last year. I gave him all the best of it in a money way, and he's got $7,000 in cold storage. How's that for a kid that was in a gutters 2 years ago? And he'd have still more yet if he wasn't so nuts over clothes and got to stop at the good hotels and so forth. Where's his home at? Well, he ain't really got no home. He came from Chicago and his mother canned him out of the house for being no good. She gave him a raw deal, I guess, and he says he won't have nothing to do with her unless she comes to him first. She's got a pile of money, he says, so he ain't worrying about her. The gentleman under discussion entered the cafe and swaggered to Tommy's table, while the whole room turned to look. Midge was a picture of health despite the slightly covered eye and an ear that seemed to have no opening. But perhaps it was not his healthiness that drew all eyes. His diamond horseshoe tie pin, his purple cross-striped shirt, his orange shoe and his light blue suit fairly screamed for attention. "Where you been?" he asked Tom. "I've been looking all over for you." "Sit down," said his manager. "No, Tom," said Midge. "I'm going down to the wharf and see him unload the fish." "Shake hands with my brother Dan," said Tommy. Midge shook with the Hollyoke Haley. "If you're Tommy's brother, you're okay with me," said Midge, and the brothers beamed with pleasure. Dan moistened his lips and murmured an embarrassed reply, but it was lost on the young gladiator. "Leave me take 20, Midge was saying. "I probably won't need it, but I don't like to be caught short." Tommy parted with a $20 bill and recorded the transaction in a small black book the insurance company had given him for Christmas. "But," he said, "it won't cost you no 20 to look at them fish. Want me to go along?" "No," said Midge hastily. "You and your brother here probably got a lot to say to each other." "Well," said Tommy, "don't take no bad money and don't get lost. And you better be back at 4 o'clock and lay down a while." "I don't need no rest to beat this guy," said Midge. "He'll do laying down enough for the both of us." And laughing even more than the jest called for, he strode out the fire of admiring and startled glances. The corner of Wolstone and Tremont was the nearest Midge got to the wharf, but the lady awaiting him was doubtless a more dazzling sight than the catch of the luckiest Massachusetts fisherman. She could talk, too, probably better than the fish. "Oh, you kid," she said, flashing a few silver teeth among the gold. "Oh, you fighting man." Midge smiled at her. "We'll go somewheres and get a drink," he said. "One won't hurt." In New Orleans, 5 months after he had rearranged the map of Bud Cross for the 3rd time, Midge finished training for his championship bout with the Dutchman. Back in his hotel after the final workout, Midge stopped to chat with some of the boys from up north who had made the long trip to see a champion dethroned, for the result of this bout was so nearly a foregone conclusion that even experts had guessed it. Tommy Haley secured the key and the mail and ascended to the Kelly suite. He was bathing when Midge came in, half an hour later. "Any mail?" asked Midge. "There on the bed," replied Tommy from the tub. Midge picked up the stack of letters and postcards and glanced them over. From the pile he sorted out 3 letters and laid them on the table. The rest he tossed into the wastebasket. Then he picked up the 3 and sat for a few moments holding them, while his eyes gazed off into space. At length he looked again at the 3 unopened letters in his hand. Then he put one in his pocket and tossed the other 2 at the basket. They missed their target and fell on the floor. "Hell," said Midge, and stooping over, picked them up. He opened one postmarked Milwaukee and read, "Dear husband, I have wrote to you so many times and got no answer, and I don't know if you ever got them, so I'm writing again in the hopes you will get this letter and answer. I don't like to bother you with my troubles, and I would not only for the baby, and I'm not asking you should write to me, but only send a little money, and I'm not asking for myself, but the baby has not been well a day since last August, and the doctor told me she can't live much longer unless I give her better food, and that's impossible the way things are. Lou has not been working for a year, and what I make don't hardly pay for the rent. I'm not asking for you to give me any money, but only you should send what I loaned when convenient, and I think it amounts to about $36. Please try and send that amount, and it will help me, but if you can't send the whole amount, Try and send a little money. Your wife, Emma. Midge tore the letter into 100 pieces and scattered them over the floor. Money, 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 he said. They must think I'm made of money. I suppose the old woman's after it too. He opened his mother's letter. Dear, Michael Connie wanted me to write and say you must beat the Dutchman, and he is sure you will, and wanted me to say we want you to write and tell us about it. But I guess you haven't no time to write, or we heard from you long before this. But I wish you'd write just a line or two, because it would be better for Connie than a bar or medicine. It will help me to get things going if you send me money now, and then when you can spare it. But if you can't send no money, try and find time to write a letter, only a few lines, and it will please Connie. Just think boy hasn't got out of the bed in over 3 years. Connie says good luck. Your mother, Ellen F. Kelly. I thought so, said Midge. They're all alike. The third letter was from New York. It read, Hon, this is the last letter you will get from me before your champ, but I will send you a telegram Saturday, but I can't say as much in a telegram as in a letter, and I'm writing this to let you know I'm thinking of you and praying for good luck. Lick him good, hon, and don't wait no longer than you have to, and don't forget to wire me as soon as it's over. Give him that little old left of yours on the nose, hon, and don't be afraid of spoiling his good looks, because he could be no homelier than he is. But don't let him spoil my baby's pretty face. You won't, will you, hon? Well, hon, I would give anything to be there and see it, but I guess you love Haley better than me, or you wouldn't let him keep me away. But when you're champ, hon, when we can do as we please and tell Haley to go to the devil. Well, hon, I will send you a telegram Saturday, and I almost forgot to tell you, I will need some more money, a couple $100, let's say, and you will have to wire it me as soon as you get this. You will, won't you, hon? I will send you a telegram Saturday, and remember, hon, I'm pulling for you. Well, goodbye, sweetheart, and good luck, Grace. They're all alike, said Midge. Money, money, money. Tommy Haley, shining from his ablutions, came in from the adjoining room. Ought you be laying down, he said. I'm going to, said Midge, unbuttoning his orange shoes. I'll call you at 6, and you can eat up here with no bugs to pester you. I got to go down and give them the birds their tickets. Did you hear from Goldberg? Asked Midge. Didn't I tell you? Sure, 15 weeks at $500 if we win. And we can't get the guarantee of $12,000 with privileges either in New York or Milwaukee. Who with? Anybody will stand up in front of you. You don't care who it is, do you? Not me. I'll make 'em all look like a monkey. Well, you better lay down a while. Oh, say, write 200 to Grace for me, will you? Right away, the New York address. 200! You just sent 300 last Sunday. Well, what the hell do you care?